Welcome everyone. This is Track 1, Understanding Children. I'm Rocio Rojas-McFadden and we'll be going over 21st century children. As you see up here on the slides, you see a lot of pictures there, and I just want you to look at those. But did you know kids today, children today, will never know what it was to lick a stamp and put it on a postcard or a letter to send. Now it's a little, it has an adhesive, it's like a sticker, and you just place it on there. So kids today will never know how it was to lick those stamps. Also, Beloit College has a mindset list that they give out each year, just telling the differences of, kids today. This is how far we're advancing in today. And did you also know that kids have access to information? I remember the library card catalog that you had to go to use it to find your book in the library. That was the way. It was an alphabetical order. You need to know how your letters came in the order it was so you could look it up in the card catalog. Today, in a lot of your do-it-yourself channels, they use this as home decoration. Isn't that crazy? It lost its purpose, but now they found it to place it in your home for decor. Also, I remember using the encyclopedia for information. Kids today have information just right in their phones. Anything that you need, the weather, anything you can find on there. The information for kids today is just in a click away. To find anything. They don't even have to ask us anymore. All they have to do is click and go to their phones. Also, the phone has become their video camera, their a video recorder, their camera, their flashlight. They use that for everything. We even use it for emails and all these social media apps that we have as well. So phones have become real to us in the sense that we carry it with us, and because you need it even for directions and everything. So kids have that capability that we didn't have as growing up. If you were doing a book report, we went to the encyclopedia and found that information, and it took forever to do that. Kids today don't need that to do their research. Also, up in the slides, you will see, what is that? Yes, a remote control, and there's a little book back there. It looks like a magazine. What is that? Yes, it is a TV guide. Kids today don't have to wait till 7 or 5 to see their favorite show. Why? Because you have Netflix, you have all these other TV channel or network channels that you can go to. But the struggle was real for us, that we had to find out, look into this book and say, okay, what day does this come on? What time does MacGyver come on? And you had to be there and there was no VCRs back then. So you had to watch it. There was no way of recording it. So if you missed it, you missed it. So yeah, the struggle was real. And now the kids, they don't know what it is to be on a schedule set for channels, for TV channels. Not only that, back then I only had 3 channels, and now there's just infinity of information out there. You've got YouTube and these other networks that you can access that. So I just wanted to point that out with that information of our kiddos. What we're going to go through today with a lot of time is we're going to have 3 key concepts that I want you to be aware of. The first one is the environment our 21st century children are living in. And number 2, we're going to talk about the challenges of 21st century children. And lastly, the third one, we're going to be talking the needs of these 21st century kids. So those are the 3 that we're going to be talking about in this seminar, in this workshop. Also, in your booklet, I want you to go to your booklet I really don't know what page that is because my book is a little different than yours. But on there it says, we're going to find the similarities and the differences that we shared with our children today, that when we were children. There's similarities and there's some differences. So in your booklets, you're going to, from the list that you have there, you're going to put a check on each one that you find to be true regarding the world of which children are growing up in today. So right now you're just going to check on the things that you think are true in our children today. So go ahead and get your booklet, get your pens, and go through those. One of them is busy, instant gratification, religion. So I want you to put a check mark on all those that you think our children are going through today. So that's step number one. I'm going to give you a few moments for that. Let's give you 2 minutes. So let's start counting. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now that I have your attention, we're going to, the next step is you're going to put a plus sign on the ones that you went through as a child, when you were a child. So go back in there, you're gonna use your same pencil, but you're gonna put a plus sign on the ones that you feel you had when you were growing up as a child, in whatever year that was. So go ahead and go back on that list and put a plus sign on those right now. So I'm gonna give you about another, say about a minute to do that. So go ahead and do that. Okay, here we go. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now the next step is you're going to underline, those that, only 3. What did I say? 3. You're only going to underline 3 from that list that you think are important as a children's minister or a children's minister leader. So pick only 3, and you're going to underline 3 of those from your list of what is important as a children's ministry leader. So go ahead and do that. I'm going to give you about a minute. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so what did you think? So right now, I want you to go to your neighbor, and I'm going to give you, let's say, about 3 minutes to discuss those 3 things you think are important as a children's ministry leader. So go ahead and pick your partner, groups of 2, and discuss those 3 that you think are important for children's ministry. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so up here on your slide, you will see a Venn diagram, which is 2 circles and they intersect. And to your right-hand side, you'll see a vintage car. And it's one of the first early cars that we had. And then to your left, you're going to have a brand new sparkling purple car. And that's the most modern car that we have today. So we're going to make some comparisons, and usually this is what we use Venn diagram to do that for you, to be able to see and list those. But we're only going to list one item that the vintage car had that the new car doesn't have. So go ahead and get your pencils or pens and write down one item that the vintage car has that the new car model does not have. So go ahead and list that. Okay. Now we're moving on to name me one item that the new car, this purple beautiful car, has that this vintage car doesn't have. So that is your new purple car. What does it have that this vintage car doesn't have? So go ahead and write just one item. Go ahead and write it. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and share, in your group right now. We're going to do it together. One of those items, go ahead and shout it out. So go ahead. What is different from the vintage car from the model car? So go ahead and say it. That was a good one. Yes. Now, anybody else out there? Okay, that's another good one. Yes. Now let's go to the new car. What does the new model car have that the old car, vintage car, did not have? So go ahead and say it. Yes, that is true. Anybody else? Yes, true. So all of these things, I know there's much more. For example, I would have picked on the vintage car. They didn't have what we call air conditioning in those cars. So yeah, they didn't have air conditioning. And the new cars, what do they have that older cars had? Well, they have seat warmers. And so they have the roll-up windows. So a lot of you made those comments. So yes, those are the differences. Now we're going to go back and we're going to see what they have in common. What is similar between the vintage car and the new purpley car? So what would that be? So go ahead and write it in the middle where they intersect. I want you to name one item that are similar. So go ahead and write that down. And I want someone to, let's do two people, say it. So yes, that's a good one. How about you? That's a good one. I would say, if I heard correctly, both of them have tires, right? Yes, and both of them have a wheel. Well, they have wheels, and then they have the, what is that called? My mind just went blank, but you understand what I mean. Also, something that I don't know if I heard right, but both cars, the vintage and the new model, you know what they do? They get you from point A to point B. Yes, of course, speed is a difference, but both of these cars would take you from point A to point B. So that's what they have in common, is similar. So now we're going to do the same thing with kids. So the vintage cars, guess what? That's us. Yes, we are the vintage car. And the new car are kids that are 18 years or younger. They are the newer model. Okay, so let's think of one item that from our childhood that was different from kids today. So go ahead and name that one item that was different when we were children as children are today. So go ahead and do that. Okay, I want to hear. Let's see from this side. Yes. How about over here? Anyone? Yes, that is a good one. One of those things when I was a child was I played outside a lot. I was not allowed to watch TV. Our limit was 30 minutes. That was it. And not only that, who wanted to watch TV when you can be outside playing? I played a lot outside with my sister, and we made the best mud pies ever. The best in the town. So we made mud pies. We even went around with our bikes and we played bus driver. We would switch up over our hands open it and, be imaginative with that and close the door back up, and that's how we played bus driver. So it was fun growing up because we didn't get in the house till it was dark. Kids today don't do that. So that's one of the differences. Now what we're going to do is, kids today, what is different than from our childhood? So go ahead and just shout them out. Yes, that is a good one. Over here. Yes. One of those differences is the access to information, just in a phone, Sometimes I see parents, I don't do it anymore because my children are adult already, but I see a lot of parents just give the phone to their little 2-year-old, 1-year-old, and they just go swish, 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 and they just watch whatever. So that is a huge difference. Yes. So right now, we're going to see the similarities that we had when we were growing up with kids today. So, what do you think the similarities are? So, go ahead and name something from this side. That's a good one. How about this side? Great. Okay, there's a lot of them that were the same when we were kids and they were kids. And sometimes we think of our differences instead of our similarities. One of those is, when I was a child, I needed to be loved. Kids today need love. They need food. They need shelter. They need clothing. So those basic needs haven't changed at all. They have not. So we are quite similar when it comes to the needs. They're still afraid of stuff. They need guidance from us. So those are the similarities that we share with these children today. So right now, we're going to watch a small video, and it's called Kids React. So here you go. Let's go ahead and watch this small little clip.
Kids React to Technology! This episode, Rotary phones!
Okay, so this is going to be a little different.
Okay.
We're not showing you a video.
Instead of a video, you're reacting to this.
Say, what?
An old-fashioned telephone.
A telephone? Oh, an old-fashioned phone. I always thought they were really cool.
Am I gonna be calling someone? I like modern day phones more.
I'm gonna call somebody. Shh. How does this even work? Question time!
What is that?
A phone?
Old-fashioned telephone.
A telephone, but it's oldish. It's not a cell phone, that's a telephone.
This is like phones that my mom used when I was a kid. The first ones that Alexander Graham Bell invented. How do you guys still have this old telephone?
How do you know it's a phone?
Because this is what an old phone looks like.
And there's toys of these.
Well, there are still like house phones with this kind.
Movies, my friend has one.
Because I read history. It looks like a phone, it has a telephone, and it has numbers.
Do you know what they call that type of phone?
No.
Dial phone?
A home phone? I just know my iPod is not like this.
They call it a rotary phone.
A rotary phone.
Oh yeah, because this thing.
Another word in my vocabulary.
Do you know how to use a rotary phone to make a phone call?
I think you use these, but I have no idea how they work.
No, not that. No. Dial the number as soon as I find out how.
There's something you have to do before you dial. What's the very first thing you'd have to do to use that phone?
I have no idea.
Hello, this is Lyden, and I will be teaching you how to call on a rotary phone. Step 1. Take the phone and put it right here.
How do you even, how do you dial?
Wait. If you want a 3, you put it right here next to the hole with 3. And then you take it to the piece of metal. And then you do another number and another number.
If you wanted to do 3, you would put your finger in the 3, and then you would have to go over here, and then let go.
And that's one number.
And that's one number. Then you'd have to go 8.
Whoa. 5,
not want to work these things.
It's gonna take a long time.
And when you do pick up the phone, you put it to your ear. What are you listening for before you dial?
Bling, bling. I was born in the 40s, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
It would make a blank sound like or something like that.
It's actually something called a dial tone.
I think I've heard of that.
And do you know what this noise means?
That they're not picking up.
It was disconnected.
Loading or searching or something? Ringing? Dialing? Message?
They're on the line with somebody else?
It's called a busy signal.
Oh, so they press a button and then you can't call them because they're busy?
No, not exactly. So you call them, but they're already on the phone. So it tells you busy, and they never even know that you called.
Pretty not cool. I mean, that's not fair.
I don't want that phone. I want to keep my iPhone.
This was awesome like 20 or 10 years ago. And look how technology advanced. Like now people don't even know what this is.
Do you know what a long distance phone call is?
No, I haven't known that for a long time.
Letters.
When people are like in California and then the other person is like way out somewhere.
If you called someone that had another area code than you, it would cost more money per minute to talk to them.
Aww.
It's crazy.
That's really just... They shouldn't do that. Wait, what if they did this? Carry it in a backpack.
It was recently my birthday, and like all my relatives called me, and they all live in Chicago. So if we had one of these phones where it was long distance, they'd be like, "Happy birthday, bye," because they didn't want to pay extra money.
How do you think you sent a text message with that phone?
So you grab it.
Do you have to use these again?
No, not that.
Beep, boop, boop, beep. I have no idea. This is very confusing to me.
If you went like to 2 and you wanted it to be A, you would only do it once, but if you wanted it to B, you'd do it twice.
How do they see what you wrote them?
Would it be like you pick up the phone and it's in Morse code or something?
You probably need to move it first. And that would be A. Wait, are you sure you can even text on that?
You can't. You couldn't.
There was no texting?
It was a trick question. There was no text messaging.
Oh, why do you guys do that?
And how? They wanted to talk to their friends. Oh, that's how. They would call.
You had no texting and no cell phone, which means the only way you could talk to your friends is if you were at home and they were also at home and you called each other.
Yikes.
That was probably very difficult for you guys.
What if you got into an emergency?
I don't know how they would do that back then. I wouldn't be able to do that.
It definitely made it harder, but still, people got around. People survived.
That's horrible, especially if you haven't seen them in a long time because you're super busy and then you finally get talking to them and they're not even home.
When was the last time you used a payphone?
What's a payphone? What's a payphone?
What's a payphone? This is a payphone?
Never.
Never.
I don't think I've ever used a payphone.
My parents have used them.
I know what payphone is. I heard that Adam Levine song.
Have you ever seen on the street a booth that has a phone in it?
Yeah. All it said was a blue sign and it said call booth. I didn't know what it was.
You put money in, 50 cents, to use the telephone to call someone.
That's kind of like torture.
So we went over everything with you about this old phone, but when I give you this phone,
Ooh.
would you know how to make a call?
Phone. Then you go, press these numbers.
I'm calling that person. Oops. I'm calling that person.
Press the button that says phone, put it on your ear, and talk. You don't have to do all this wacky stuff.
This is why humans are de-evolving.
Phone technology has changed a lot.
Yes, thank goodness, or I would be crying in a corner.
Are you happy that you are living now with those types of phones, or do you wish you lived when they were those types of phones?
These phones. It's easier, it just takes 2 clicks.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Ha! Sup, bro?
These phones. It actually has stuff to play on.
We should have a cell phone and this phone to make your house look all old. I love old technology. I'm a fan of classics. No, wait, I think I want to go with my phone. Hello?
So what did you guys think? Yes, kids don't know what a rotary phone is. Isn't that crazy? I remember those phones. I know most of you remember those phones. And yes, in order to call someone, someone had to be home. Kids today don't understand the concept that if they weren't home, you didn't get to talk to them. And there was no texting either. I know kids today are like, what? But yes, you had to be home. And I allowed you to see those little kids trying to, they couldn't work the numbers, how it worked, and the dial tone and all of that. So they understand that we had a simpler life, and kids today have it all there. So that's just one of the videos that I love to watch, because you can see the differences of what was normal for us is not normal for them. So right now, we are going to talk about family structure. That has changed. That's part of our environment. Family structures are not the same. You have mom and dad and your brother and sister, but more and more today we see a single parent. They're divorced. They spend a week with mom, they spend a week with dad. They come to church one Sabbath, the other Sabbath they don't. So they have that. A Christmas with mom, Thanksgiving with dad, and it's just one of those things that I certainly didn't grow up with, but we're seeing it more and more. Also, we're watching a lot of remarried, and you have all these blended families. So you have, 3 kiddos from one marriage, and then you have his kids, and you come together and you become Brady Bunch. So yes, family structures have changed. The environment has changed. Not only that, there's a lot of grandparents stepping up because parents today are absent. And it's sad to hear these stories from these little kids that they don't have mom or dad in their life or in their picture. You also have widowers and widows. They lost a dad, they lost a mom, so because of, disease or war or whatever the issue may be. And so grandparents are stepping up. Not only that, you have more and more foster children in there as well that just have that. So that is the thing of that. And I'm going to tell you about this family structure, and it's in the Bible, and I know we really haven't seen it that way, but look up here on this picture up here. That is Jacob's family on this slide. That was a weird family structure. And who's your mommy? And I'm going to go through here. You're going to see some pictures. There are 4 ladies there. We have Leah, and then we have Zilpa, then we have Rachel, then we have Bila. Yeah, 4 mommies and 1 dad. Isn't that crazy? But it existed. Now, Leah had Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulon. Yeah. Then Rachel couldn't have any kids, so she goes, you know what? Have my servant. Here you go. So there's Bila, and she had Dan and Naphtali. And then Leah was like, oh yeah, well here you go. You can take Zilpah. And Zilpah had Gad and Asher. And then finally, Rachel was able to conceive Joseph and Benjamin. And you just have all this weirdness and dysfunctional family structure. So, yes, those kids were pretty messed up. So that affects children today too. Whatever's at home is going to transfer to the children's life as well. So you have to take that into consideration, that family structures are changing drastically, and we have to be aware of those. So how do children adapt to that? How are they feeling, or how are they trying to cope with this situation? So these are things that our children are in the 21st century are going through. This is one of those struggles that they're going through, which is what? Family structure, which is their environment. So up here on this slide, you're going to see the characteristics of the 21st century. And there's a list right here, but we're not going to touch on all of them. We're going to touch on a few of them. So, but you have the list up here where we have global neighborhood, multicultural, access to information, media shaping, anti or not religious, lack of clear rules and guidelines, hurry up and wait, more options, and isolation. Right now on this slide, you see global neighborhood. What that means is we are interconnected, just as that slide, that picture shows you. We are more connected than ever before. We know when something happens right away. For example, if the war broke out, or all this information, just pops up right away before it took longer for the news to travel, because they didn't have the technology that we have today. Not only that, social media has just blown up, where you can know anything and everything right there and there. So children today have a global neighborhood as they're interconnected with each other through social media. Also, the next slide that we see here is Google. Google is the search engine which what? Gives you access to information. Anything you want to know, you can know. So there is no excuse for not to find information because it's there at your fingertips. You can learn recipes, you can learn new exercises, you can do therapy, you can do certain stretches, you can do home projects, you name it, it's there. There's this one gentleman that he does uploads videos of how-to videos for young children or teenagers that didn't have a father figure in their life, and he shows them what to do. Isn't that great? So that's a great use of technology, where this dad is helping these young men or young ladies know the basics of what a dad should have told them. So they have all this information at their tip, but also be aware that we need to also have education to parents that they need parental controls set up, because they have access to all this information, which they should not be having. And you can read stories and stories of to where children just, getting onto all this information and the dangers of that. Also, we have the knowns. If you see this slide, it's a church, and there's only one person in there. As time and time passes, we have what is known as the knowns. They do not want to do anything with religion. They don't believe in God. They don't care if there's a God. They're not, worshiping idols per se, but they just don't have the time, don't really want to know. They're like, just leave me alone. And that's growing more and more as to where the lack of empathy, that they don't need someone telling them how to act or be. So that is infusing into our education, into mainstream America, which our children are part of. They are part of this world. And that's one of the things, one of the dangers of children today is that they're occupied with other stuff and technology, that they become less and less interested in faith. When they can have the screen and watch whatever and do whatever, and then on Saturday they come to Sabbath school and all they do is sit and read, and nobody notices them, nobody talks to them, and there's no connection. Now that is the reality of these children. Are we as a church making that connection? And that is what children's ministry is all about. And that's what I want you teachers to take, because as you can see in this next slide, social media is taking over everything. There's TikTok. Kids are not on Facebook. They're not on Instagram. So the top two social medias would be TikTok and Snapchat. And even the younger are not even doing Snapchat. They're more into TikTok. Now what TikTok is social media, and it's an app where they pick a song, and first of all, the younger kids are just doing dance moves trying to follow. But have you really looked at those little kids and what they're dancing to, and the lyrics to it? It's just scary. But then it took over, and now there's some positives of this, because you have DIY projects, you have connecting people with interests in reaching others. So social media is a great part of our children's life, and we need to know, how can we connect with kids? And the thing that I want you to realize is that the way to do that, in this slide, I want you to take a close look at this slide of this little boy. Isn't he just adorable? And he's reaching out. What is he reaching out to? And that's what we have to learn as children ministry, is how can we bring that color? How can we bring in that color of fun? How can we bring kids related stuff? Is that you need to be aware of their surroundings. And how do we connect with these kids? How can we be part of that? Well, my next workshop is going to be just about that, entering the world of kids. But before that, before we leave, is how can we connect with these kids? And these are the questions I'm going to ask you. And this little boy is asking you, okay? He is asking you, this is what I need from my church. This is what I need from my parents, my grandparents. And this is what I need my teachers to know. Is it okay for me to be here? This is in your booklet. You can find it. Do you care about me? Can I trust you? Can I talk to you? Are we being real with these children? Are we connecting? Are we having conversations of them? Did you know that children don't have adult friends, in the sense that someone that cares for them and is an advocate for them and is their mentor? We don't have that. And it's so sad because, I'm an educator, and I've been a kindergarten teacher, preschool teacher, I've been an after school, I've been a substitute teacher, I've been a Sabbath school teacher, and I'm a parent, and all my life my passion has been children. And the things that I have found is children want to connect with us. They want to share their ideas. They want to have conversations with us. They long and they desire a true relationship. And how can they know who Jesus is? Just as like this slide, this picture, you see Jesus there and you see two children there. Isn't that amazing? That is what children's ministry is all about. Can these children come back? Do they want to come back to your classroom? This is very important. Are we praying? Are you praying for your children in your classroom? Or is it just a program that you just show up and say, oh, I just need to get it over with and leave. And you never pray for them. They're never on your mind. You're not interested in their day. Isn't it sad? Would you want to go to a church where nobody wants to know about you? That you're an inconvenience? Kids are pretty smart, and they can pick up on stuff like this. They can. Are we really praying for our children? They have struggles. They have fears. And they have this inconsistency in their life. But are we really praying for our children? Are we connecting? Something that they need to know is, if I mess up, will you still be there for me? Do you really accept me? I had this one little preschooler, and his mother was not in the picture. He didn't know who his dad was, and so he was in foster care. His grandparents were too elderly and couldn't take care of him, so he had some foster parents. And he didn't know how to play, so I would play with him. And one day, he asked me, "You love me?" He was only 4. And I saw his little face. I was like, "Yes, I love you, Jaden." And he would just get a little smile and continue playing. Every day he would ask me the next day, "Do you love me?" And I'd go, "Yes, I love you." And before that, I was like, I'm going to beat him. So I'd say, "Jaden." He'd say, "What?" "I love you." He'd get so happy. And I continued, and he never asked after that. Because he knew I loved him, because I spent time with him, and I talked to him. And he never asked again. Do our children know they are loved? Do our children know they are appreciated? Do they feel welcome in our churches? Is that something that they can say, "This is my church, they care for me"? Do you really accept me? Our next activity, we're going to go ahead and divide. So go ahead and get in groups of 3 or 4. And we're going to do Today I Am. It's an activity, and we're going to pick zoo animals. There's a slide up there, and we have some zoo animals. And I'm going to show you some zoo animals here. We have a hippo. We have an alligator. And we have an elephant. So you're going to pick a zoo animal, and I decided to pick a little bat. So you're going to pick an animal, and think of this in the context of challenges of being a children's ministry leader in the 21st century. So you're going to pick an animal, and you're going to describe it, why you picked it, and how it describes your children's ministry. I'm going to give you an example. So I picked this little bat, and the zoo, I'm from Albuquerque, and they have a bat cave, and all these little bats are in there. And not only that, we have Carlsbad Caverns in New Mexico, and you know, if you're there in the evening, thousands and thousands of little bats fly by, because that's when they come out. And I picked this bat, you know why? Because the bat is like children's ministry. People are afraid of children's ministry, just like people are afraid of this bat. And it's scary. It's, you know, it's not a likely animal that you would want to have. But I picked this, you know why? Because children's ministry is the same. People do not want to volunteer. People do not want to participate. They think that kids are just like, ooh. But let me tell you, bats have a purpose. Did you know that bats are pollinators? Yes, you heard right. They're pollinators. So because of them, we have fruits and we have vegetables, and we have all this lush food to eat because of pollinators, this cute little bat. And with that, I want you to know that we have a purpose as children's ministry to minister to these little children because they have a purpose. They may look scary and, but let me assure you that they have a purpose, and God has said, you're not welcome into my kingdom if you're not like these little children. So these children are important to God. He created them, and we the parents, we the teachers, we as society owe them that, to teach them who God is and that they have a purpose. And that's what children ministry is about connecting with these kids and letting them know that they're loved and that they have a purpose. So go ahead and discuss in your groups. I'm going to give you about 6 minutes and pick an animal and go ahead and describe why you picked it and the challenges you have as a children's minister leader. So go ahead and discuss. I'll give you, let's say, 5 minutes. So go ahead and discuss. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, I want to thank each and one of you for being here, and I just want you to know what you take away is that being a child in this century has its struggles. And what are we doing as a church? What are we doing as a teacher to connect with these little ones? Well, I hope to see you in my next workshop. Bye, everybody. This is Rocio Rojas-McFadden. Bye.